Yo guys, welcome back to the Assassination once again. This is Assassin Dave here, and today let's talk about one of the most important topic of the game and most ignored topic of the game: rotation. Rotation is what makes or breaks a game. Whoever has a better rotation will dominate the game economy and put a lot of psychological pressure on their opponents and put them under a lot of stress. Now, if you're able to rotate efficiently early to mid-game, you can help your team to establish an irreversible lead. Then you'll probably see your enemy just, hitting that forfeit button or conceding button 10 times before the game ends or something like that. A lot of the players I see in the game have a huge problem with rotation, mainly because they don't even know what it is. And if they get rotated on, if they got ganked, in other words, they will start yelling at their teammates for being noobs, and the game will start going downhill right off the bat. So as part of the assassination, we have the responsibility to help our community to get to know and understand rotation, and eventually we can master it together. Now, why don't we start with the champion Franco and talk about how to rotate with Franco and some tips and tricks. The reason why I start with Franco is one of my favorite tanks because he just moves so fast, and the way he moves is very hilarious. He's one of the most funniest looking champion in the game, right? That's beside the point. The point is there are mainly two team comps in the game. One is called a seize comp, right? Mainly rotates around the tank called tick. And another very popular team comp is a pick comp, mainly revolves around Franco, where you can pick someone off before the team fight begins. So it's very important that you get to understand the mechanic of rotation, because as Franco, your ganking and how fast you gank is very, very important. It's actually more important than how accurate your hook. Well, actually, I take that back. They're equally as important, right? You gotta get used to Franco's hook, otherwise just use the tank. But more than that, you want to understand rotation. So, we're going to break this down into 4 parts. When to rotate, how to counter-rotate or counter-gank, and some teamfight strategies. Why don't we start with when to rotate. Particularly with Franco, you want to rotate starting at level 1. If you know enemy team is going for the blue buff, for example, if enemy team has a Fanny, go ahead and hide in the bush next to the blue buff and try to pull it either to de-aggro the blue buff, so Fanny has to do it all over again, or you can try stealing it if you're bossing up for it, right? Like if you can last hit the hook, if Fanny uses her retribution before, earlier to start the fight, start the engage rather than finishing up the blue buff, but lucky you then. In the standard game, you should start rotating at least, latest, at level 3, and give your AD carry a free lane to solo experience and farm. You can just try to steal other lanes' experience and gold while rotating to get to higher level. And trust me, you won't be far behind on farm if you're able to rotate between lane to lane. Now, another thing worth mentioning is, don't be always walking around on the river. Do make sure that you actually stay close to the lane and wait, for the gank, for enemy team to show up, so you can at least get some experience. Because for Franco, next level hook at level 11 is actually pretty important, so that you can hook at a maximum range. Now, what I do recommend you do is try to help your teammate clean the wave as fast as you can while the other wave is coming, while you're waiting for that wave to come from the inhibitor tower. That's when you see the wave showing up. That's when you actually have a big window for ganking, because then when you see your wave come to the inhibitor tower, enemy wave is the inhibitor tower as well. And if you now go to the other lane, let's say if you're on the side lane, and that's when their minion wave is about to show up, towards the mid and middle, and then enemy team mid laner will come to show up and try to farm the mid lane. That's a perfect opportunity for you to gank. Let's talk about how to rotate. When you set your journey to the west, to gank, make sure you're always in push close to the lane or the jungle area that you want to gank. You want to give enemy the element of surprise when you hook, so make sure that you do not show yourself easily. Here are some classic spots and routes that you can use to hide and land a perfect hook. Once you set a sniping spot, make sure you have your finger ready on the first ability and pull your vision forward by holding and dragging on the minimap so you can have a broader view of the battleground. Now, try to send out a hook when you know your enemy is committing to a last hit on a minion or simply just trying to auto attack and clean the lane. This way you can increase your chance of success. And once you hook, immediately pull your finger on the flicker. If the hook connected, pull the flicker backwards towards your tower. If the hook did not connect, obviously just pull it up to cancel it. This way you can leverage the tower damage and pull them a further distance back towards your team. Now sometimes, if the enemy just standing in a cluster of minions wave for too long, and simply just flicker in, right? Flicker in and just ult them, right? And have your teammate do as much damage as you can, and when they try to dash back, let's say if they're a Moskov, right? You know they're gonna dash back towards their tower. So once you finish your ult animation, use your second ability to slow them, and then put your finger on your first ability. When they jump away, instantly hook them back. Okay, so it's the best strategy, the most fun. It's also flashy to do. Now, but do not forget the objective for ganking is so that you guys can seek objective after. Now, what I mean by objective: tower, turtle, and lord. So, if you guys are able to pull off a successful gank, make sure to either contact the tower or turtle afterwards if you can. Let's talk about how to counter gank. Regarding counter gank or counter rotation with Franco, I want everyone to get into a good habit. This applies to every single champion on counter gank. Okay, getting a good habit to look at a minimap every 3 seconds or so. Just take a glance at a minimap every time that after you're sending a command like moving or attacking or using ability. Just take a look at a minimap to know where the enemy teams are. This way you can drastically reduce your chance of dying or being rotated out. When you see enemy champions missing from other lane, from mid lane, from top lane, let's say you're on bottom lane, send a retreat signal for your bot lane partner, and then kindly send the task hook into the closest bush to test if any predators are just sitting in that bush waiting, right? So you can actually pull them into the tower and get a pretty nice counterplay on. Teamfight strategies. Now, why do I talk about teamfight strategies in ganking and not in counter ganking? Well, teamfight revolving around pickcom, aka Franco com, has to be revolving around his hook. Now, if Franco misses hook, please do not engage in a teamfight. Okay? Now, by saying that, it's very similar to ganking where you guys need to pick someone off before the teamfight even begins. Before the clashes begins, right? Because if you pick someone off really easily, it becomes a 4v5 situation. You guys have 5, they have 4, even though Franco is really bad in a teamfight, clashing teamfight. You guys can still be really effective because it's 5v4. So, if Franco do miss his hook, please do not engage, like I said, because you're basically fighting a 4v5 yourself if you do decide to clash after Franco misses the hook. Franco is quite useless if he's not able to pick someone off from his team. You only have to bust down, right? So much like ganking around the map, you can communicate with your guys that you guys need to pick someone off first before continuing on that fight. I see a lot of people, after Franco misses their hook, they still engages, which is a huge mistake because they usually result in a loss of the fight. You guys can hide in a bush next to a hotspot. Like, now how to pick someone off, right? You guys can hide in a bush next to a hotspot like Lord or Turtle and try to pick the enemy scout off, right? Scout. Now they usually will send someone and say, "Hey Clint, why don't you go take a look if an enemy team is doing the Lord," right? So if they send someone to scout the Lord, pick that guy off right before the team fight even begins. Usually a successful pick will directly result in the victory of the game. So alright assassins, this is gonna be today's episode of Guide on Rotation. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you took something that can assist you in your future games. Once again, leave a comment and like down below. And once we reach 500 likes per video, we're going to do a giveaway for that video. So with that, guys, make sure you hit a like, and if you have not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button to join Team Assassination. And this is Assassin Dave. Peace out.